Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be here today to present about what drivers us, hunger, sake, friendship, and achievement. The purpose of my group's presentation is how do external and emerging stimuli contribute to sexual arousal and factors influence teenager sexual behaviors and use of contraceptives. My group have 9 members. You can see on the screen. Now let's come to the first part of the presentation. Sexual arousal. Yes, sexual arousal is an emotional or motivational state that can be triggered by external stimuli and can be inferred from central, including speed, drive, including genitals, and behavior, including predisposition to action and modal preparation. External stimulation can be sexually arousing in both men and women, but men respond more specifically to sexual descriptions related to their preferred gender. Music, movies, and video games in today's society attract males and females when having sexual. Pornography can make people feel their partner is relatively more attractive and increasing their relationship. Male and female become aroused when they see, hear, or read erotic material. Some action of external stimuli, sexual stimulation in women by texting, increased verbal sexual arousal, stroking and lightly touching the skin. Man can be aroused by any kinds of external stimuli, such as seeing, hearing, or viewing pornographic material. And women can also more as interested in external material things as men. External stimuli play a main part in create sexual attachment between people of the opposite sexual. Yes, thing work this work requires an interactive process in which people find and attract the ideal partner and maintain that relationship. These processes include attracting one or more mates and maintaining sexual interest, and may include flighting, the action of sexually attracting another attention to promote an emotional or sexual relationship. Solution can be viewed as both positive and negative. Therefore, external stimulation are important and indispensable part of sexual. External stimulation contribute to sexual potency, raised by a partner, and increase satisfaction. People may find sexual arousal is pleasing or disturbing with repeat exposure. The emotional response to any erotic stimulus, often lessened or habituate. Can exposure to sexually explicit material have a vice effect? So, we can research indicate it can raise acceptance. Depictions of human being sexual coerced and appearing to enjoy it. Reducing satisfaction with a partner's appearance or with a relationship. Imminent viewing images of sexually attractive women and men may also lead people to devalue their own partners and relationship. And the last is then in the desensitization. Some study have found that extensive online pornography exposure desensitize young men to normal sexuality, thus contribute to erectile problem, lower sexual desire, and diminished brain activation in response to sexual images. So, ignorance. Depression of sexual current have increase acceptance of rape. Men respond more specifically to sexual depression involving their preferred sex. Sexually explicit material may lead people to perceive their partners as, comparatively less appealing and to devalue their relationships. However, with repeat exposure to any stimulus, including an erotic stimulus, the emotional response lessens or habituates. And the next presentation of ﷺ.
Thanks, Miss. I will talk about emerging stimulation. Imagination involves images and experience genres within cognitive and emotional system of the person. These are more commonly known as fantasy, daydream, and nighttime dream. I will talk about type of cognitive activity that lead to emerging stimulation. This process is the creation of erotic idea, images, and signals. The content of these thoughts likely to be a combination of memories of past, erotically stimulating situation and creation of new. Fantasizing may occur while involved in actual sexual episodes, such as masturbating or engaging in sexual interaction with a partner. It often also occurs, however, at a present random time throughout the daily routines. Secondly, anticipatory fantasizing. Fantasizing is emerging what the experience of sexual behavior and interaction will be like before actually engaging in them. This sometimes simply consists of views loosely direct curiosity about the nature of the sensation and feeling that will result from erotic activity. But thirdly, memories are recollection of events experienced by an individual in the past. Recall of sexual experience is likely to serve as a major source and stimulation, contributing to sexual arousal. Next, I will say that the effect of emerging stimulation on male and female. Male have more emerging stimuli in sexual arousal than females. The average male has 19 sexual thoughts a day, while an average woman has about 10, according to a study published in the Journal of Sex Research 2012. Thus, they may be more prone to falling into neglect than females. Male and female have different emerging stimuli. Most female often emerging having sex in a romantic location, while most male emerging oral sex and stimulus sex with two female, according to a 2014 study and Journal of Sex Research 2012. Emerging stimuli in humans sexually is heavy emotional. Women often think about their partner feeling their own physical and emotional reaction to what's going on, as well as the mood and atmosphere of the encounter. We can know that the most common sexual emerging stimuli of male engaged in oral sexual have threesome sexual emergence with two female and have sexual fantasy with other people they know, but not with their current partner, or male behavioral fantasy about having sexual in unusual place, and fantasy about watching two female make love alcohol volume rings. And the most common sexual emerging stimuli of female often fantasy about having sexual in romantic play and sexual in unusual play or getting oral sexual from males and with other people they know but not their current partners, and have the illusion of being demonized by their partner. A conclusion: influence of emerging stimuli, sexual fantasy are not a sign sexual disability or deprivation. This really indicate a healthy and happy sex life. Study revealed that people who regularly daydream about sex have better sexual performance in bed and even have sex more often. Even so, there is still a clear line to distinguish between normal and abnormal sexual fantasies. People don't have to realize their sexual fantasy in the real world. The danger is in obsessing with these fantasies to make them come true. So people need to know difference between fantasy and real life, not overdue to be able to have healthy lives. Now next, fantasy can have benefits such as increased sexual arousal over other forms of arousal is reliable. However, people are satisfied and not dependent external stimuli. Orgasm experience is positively correlated with high emotion, including sexual arousal, but as I conclusion, external and endogenous stimulation are way in which people experience and express their sexualities. Anything that arouses sexual desire can also lead to sexual fantasy, and sexual desire can in turn give rise to fantasy. Thank you for listening. Next, it is presentation of link.
Now I and Z will talk about what factors influence teenager sexual behavior and use contraceptive. I will discuss about factors influence teenager sexual behavior. The first is environmental factor, media and policy. Those exposure to media content through the internet, television, movie, and magazines were a risk factor for increased sexual activity and increased permissive attitude about sex during adolescence. The use or exposure to internet pornography. Secondly, interpersonal factor, parent and family, peer, partner, and connection to community. About parent and families relationship with parents and caregivers were also linked with sexual risk cessation outcomes. If they cannot be close and share with their parents, they will look to friends and outside relationships. If the child is raised in a low living family, the child will have incorrect perception, so let himself be. About peer, risky peer behavior such as alcohol or drug use and permissive peer sexual norms were identified as factors that increase the property, including sex without condom and sex while using drugs. About partner being in serious or steady relationship were identified as a risk factor for engaging in sexual activity. Having a prior negative sexual experience, such as being mistreated or having experienced physical harm. About collection to community. Every sexual risk avoidance, community engagement, and religiosity acted as protective factor. The third is individual factor, biological and psychological characteristic, along with behavior and intention and belief. Female gender were a positive factor for sexual activity, and as adolescent males were more likely than females to be sexually active. Several factors related to psychological well-being and skill were found to influence sexual risk, cessation outcomes. Drug or alcohol use were associated with an elevated risk of having had two or more sexual partners, intending to avoid sex were a protective factor in the sexual risk cessation model. The next is education. Recently, these issues have been included in the formal education of students. In fact, children who are well educated or educated are less likely to engage in early sexual behavior. It is extremely necessary to be equipped with appropriate knowledge about sex and sexuality for age group. The final is biological factor. We all know that puberty is accompanied by physiological change in body. The emergence of early sexual needs. Please watch the video to better understand.
As a teenager, you're worried about a lot of things. Homework, acne, your profile picture. One thing you shouldn't be worried about is whether or not your breasts, penis, or vulva are normal. But lots of kids do. So, are they normal? Will they be when you're all grown up? Short answer, yes. Long answer, well, when it comes to our bodies, being different is normal. You already know that our bodies are just like snowflakes. No two are alike. Our faces are all made of the same parts, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, but they all look completely different. If that goes for your face, then why not the rest of your body? The reality is that normal is different. It's all over the place. Let's start with the guys. Here's a flaccid or soft adult penis. All penises have the same parts: glands, shaft, urethra, and all have testicles hanging below. Here's one that's erect or hard. Some have foreskins, some are circumcised and have no foreskin, some are shorter, some are thicker, some are thinner, some curve when they're erect. All are normal. Same goes with girls. Each vulva has an inner labia, outer labia, clitoris, opening to the vagina, urethra, and clitoral hood. Even with the same parts, each adult vulva looks completely different. Some have bigger openings of the vagina, some have bigger clitorises that stick out, some have wide outer labia, some have bigger inner labia that stick out, and often the labia in a pair don't match each other. All are normal. And it's no different with adult breasts either. Big, small, darker areolas, longer nipples, hair around the nipple, and a lot of the time, left and right breasts won't match either. All are normal. So remember, when it comes to our faces, our hands, and yes, our genitals, different is normal. So you can officially stop worrying about your vulva, breasts, or penis. On the other hand, about that profile picture, sorry, you're on your own there.
So I will show you some contraceptive measures. The first is the modern contraceptive measures. Is condom. The condoms are safe and effective contraception HIV/AIDS and STDs. The effects of condom is to contain and prevent sperm from entering the vagina. Its indications used for all cases of wanting to avoid pregnancy, and this is an auxiliary method of contraception. To the contraindications is allergy to latex or components contained in condoms. The advantage is 99% effective in preventing pregnancy. It's safe, no side effects, and easy to use. The restriction is may sleep, can have some case of allergy to rubber, and some couples have decrease in pleasures. The next is daily birth control pills. The daily birth control pills have the advantage that it's simple to use and doesn't interfere with the sexual activity. It has quick effect, and the birth control pills can also cause some not too serious side effects, such as a nausea, a headache, the bleeding between periods, slow or more, or missed the period, eye discomfort, especially the contact lens wearers. The last things is emergency contraceptive pills. Emergency contraceptive pills contain female hormones. When buying it, you need to pay attention because it has a higher concentration. It inhibits ovulation, thickens cervical mucus, and thereby prevents sperm from moving into the uterine cavity. It has some side effects that a specific symptom is nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain. There is also an increased risk of liver, a kidney, a cardiovascular, and a breast cancer. The next is some traditional methods of contraception. The first is ejaculation outside the vagina. The mechanism is sperm cannot enter the female genital tract. This method requires man initiative when having sex, so the effectiveness of contraception is low. The periodic abstinence from intercourse, you can see here, is a menstrual cycle method. It's within 5 days before and 4 days after during the ovulations are unsafe day. It needs to abstain from intercourse, or if you have intercourse, you need to use auxiliary method of contraception. The next is method of recording cervical mucus. The peak day of the conception when cervical secretion are smooth, wet, and fibrous. The method of the recording body temperature is based on a 0.2 increase in basal body temperature up to 0.5 around the time of ovulations. And both of them have the rate of unintended pregnancy is very high. And the last is the contraceptive use and non-use. In 2017, among sexually active females, 24% of Black, 21% of Hispanic, and 12% of white students report that they having used no method at the last sex. Among their male counterparts, 10% of Black, 15% of Hispanic, and 7% of white students report that they and their partner hadn't used any method that the last time they had intercourse. The non-use was significantly higher among ninth graders, with 90%, and than among 11th and 12th graders, with 11% and 12% respectively. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Anyone have a question, please give it in a chat box, and have some of you who know any method I list above.
Okay, thank you, Group 4.